So my name is Dr. Nagar Beheshti. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for the Vista Hospital System. That's MiraVista and TerraVista. I'm a child, adolescent, and adult board certified psychiatrist. Graduated medical school from University of Minnesota, then did my residency in Minnesota, and then finished off my child fellowship at Children's Hospital Boston, and have been in Massachusetts since 2006. So MiraVista opened up about 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now. We have currently 81 beds online, and 16 of those beds are adolescent. The rest of them are adult. We also have a outpatient substance abuse program as well. We start at the lowest at 13 and then go up to 18 if they are in high school. Otherwise, if they're 18 and already graduated, they go to the adult floors. Well, it really depends on who you're talking about. If we're talking about the kiddos that are in our inpatient unit, typically for them, it's a transition again. Any transition for a kid with significant mental health challenges is challenging, good or bad, or indifferent. And sometimes these challenges end up causing more symptoms in their mental health diagnostic situation. So let's say if somebody has, ADHD, and they go on a medication holiday, well, they might be a little bit more bouncy. They might be a little bit more, impulsive in their behaviors during the summer. Or if they're depressed, the transition of going to summer. Yeah, summer is great. They don't have to deal with school, but then, they miss their friends and that social outlet that they have at school. So it really varies depending on the person. You have neurotypical kiddos, which, do not maybe necessarily have any significant mental health challenges. And for those folks, they have their challenges too. So transition still from a very structured environment in school to going to summer, potentially no structure and, free for all. So it really depends on the child at that time. Again, it's really dependent on the diagnosis they may carry, but for example, we'll go with depression. If they if they have depression, it could be that their depression symptoms get worse in the context of them isolating more, changing eating habit, changing sleeping habits, and then really feeling like they have energy to do anything during the summer. In general, whatever diagnosis they have, it really resorts to them behaving really much differently than, their family is used to in a way that's not functional. Yeah, so structure is a definite thing that, families could consider. Even a bit of structure, a couple of hours of activity. So, if we're thinking about younger teenagers, they still have camp for younger teenagers, whether it's like creative writing camp or, a music camp for a week, camp being, concentrated program for a couple of weeks or so. It depends. There's lots of different options in the summer for what you can get your kids engaged to, or even like music, if they're involved in music or arts. A lot of communities, if you just look in their community website, have a lot of activities that parents could potentially sign their kids up for. And if they have the ability to take vacations, it'll be a great time to spend some time with your kids that you may not otherwise during the school season. Yeah, so, most people, let me just start from when they get in. So when they get in, they are met what we call our front door, our admission department, where a typically a nurse practitioner meets with them, goes through assessment questions. We also have nurses meeting them at the front door and other mental health counselors just kind of easing their way into our hospital. And then once the initial assessments are done in the admission area, then they go upstairs on the second floor where the adolescent unit is at. And during their course of stay, and average length of stay is about 7 to 10 days, but it could be less, it could be more, depending on the child's needs. it typically, they wake up in the morning. Typically it's around 8. They get their medications, they get breakfast, and then they have some sort of community meeting, check-in, peppered with throughout the day different types of groups, from coping skill groups to get to know your medication groups to just kind of hang out and chill out and do arts and crafts groups. So there's lots of different types of therapeutic activities that the kids will get involved during the day. If school should be in session, we do have school actually coming to our facility. So we have a teacher that gives the students or the patients, the adolescents in our unit, some schoolwork so they don't fall behind, because that could also be a source of stress while they're here. But typically I don't have to worry about that in the summer. It's just more fun, therapeutic types of activities while their meds being adjusted. Yes, that's a very good question. Our facility, again, is only an inpatient acute psychiatric hospital, and I emphasize acute because it's really when any individual, albeit adolescent or adults with our other beds, if they're in acute mental crises, which means that they are at a point where they are either potentially wanting to take their own life or have active thoughts of that, wanting to hurt others or harm others, again, having significant active thoughts of that. Or they've gotten to a point where their mental health has incapacitated them so much that they're really struggling with taking care of themselves, meaning that, if it's adolescents, they struggle to go to school, or even in the summer when, lots of cool structured activities are designed by the parents or the guardian, that they're just unable to get out of bed, and there's a huge shift in how they're functioning from day to day. So when those significant shifts happen in a person's presentation, that's when you want to get a crisis evaluation, whether it's going to the emergency room or a crisis clinic, if there's such a clinic in the community, or you're, a primary care doctor, and get an evaluation to see if the mental health situation has got to a point where it really needs psychiatric hospitalization. So pediatricians, I know there's a lot of wellness checks during the summer because I have to get prepared for school, physicals, things like that. So that's an opportunity for pediatricians to really, if they have some time, to delve into how the kid is doing holistically, meaning mind and body. Typically, all pediatricians have a screening question that screens for mental health. That's just something standard that all pediatricians do now. It was designed, a couple of decades ago by the American Pediatric Association. So my colleagues on the pediatric side actively do that. And if that questionnaire does end up having some red flags, then they're able to refer out to appropriate, care, whether it's just therapy or therapy with medications, like a psychiatrist would get involved, like myself, in the community. That is also an option. Typically the pediatric visits shift from sneezes and sniffles during the school to accidents. Unfortunately, because kids are, more active and they get into accidents, so you deal with more broken appendages potentially, or scratches and scrapes and things like that. So even during that time, though, it's good for pediatricians, and I am very confident that they do that just because it is sort of mandated by the American Pediatric Association that they do a screening, mental health screening, should it, present itself. So again, I've been in Massachusetts in 2006. That's when I did my fellowship at Children's Hospital in Boston, which, as most folks know, it's one of the premier children's hospitals. And I have to say, going back to that point and, going through right after Children's, I did 10 years of academic medicine at UMass, where I headed up the child's division, the children's division, psychiatric child division, consultation liaison to all the pediatric floors, and did a bunch of other stuff. But the reason I'm saying all of this is because now that I've been with the Vista system for the last 4 years, and why I'm solidly, planted here now, just like our tree shows, is because I do think the care that we provide really resonates with how I saw care provided in my training at premier hospitals like Children's, and my adult training in Minneapolis as well. I won't name the hospital. It's neither here or there for Massachusetts, but I do strongly believe that how we train our staff and our providers really emulates the best care possible and genuine care. And we hire with intention. So are the people that we hire, folks that are really dedicated to helping our patients that come in the door with significant mental health, so that they can leave here empowered and out prosperous, hopefully, and hopefully we'll never see them again here. That's our hope. But if we do, if they need help, they'll certainly, our doors are open to those folks. So that's a long answer to your question, but I do believe our organization is really one of the best places to get acute psychiatric help.